And the final thing is the transformation room is going to be opening its doors for 4 days only at the end of November 27th, 28th, 29th, and 30. So if you've been wanting to get into the transformation room, it is an amazing community and you get a deliverable every single week to practice. That's really what the transformation room is about. It's a way for you to stay on track with your practicing, and you get support and also you have a way to check on your progress. And so there's a Facebook group if you're on Facebook, and to me, I love it. Like, I love seeing the dedication that's in there, people that just want to live in love. So if you're not on the mailing list, on the wait list, you can join by going to the Teachers of God website, teachersofgod.org, sign up for the wait list, and then you will begin to get the invitations to join. And the room will not open up until next spring. So if you'd like to get in there, now is the time. Anything else on that one? Linda Leland.
So yeah, the transformation room hasn't been open. We haven't opened the doors because we just want to get to work when we're in there. We haven't opened the doors since August. This is the first time since the beginning, and it has been unbelievable. There's hundreds of people from around the world doing this work together. It's filling with the teachers are also joining us. Some of the greatest teachers are in there every day. So the great thing about the transformation room, there's a lot of different self-help things and a lot of different programs out there, but the transformation room really addresses all three key elements for transformation. Sometimes we're missing one. Sometimes we're like, why aren't I getting anywhere? Why isn't anything changing for me? Because there's three elements that are really important for us. And one is practice. So like Lisa said, we have a monthly coaching topic every month. And we send out 4 deliverables, little bite-sized tools for you to practice in your life. Some of our topics so far have been the art of surrender or radical self-love. We're on anxiety right now. And so practice is important. The next one is intervention. Oftentimes we fall into old fearful patterns and we just get stuck there, sometimes for days, sometimes for years. So we have a library, we have a place where you can come in. We've gathered some of the greatest teachings from the Teachers of God Foundation, but other teachers as well. So we have this extensive library. It's all categorized. So if you're having a relationship issue, or if you're just overcome with guilt, or if something's going on, you can look up exactly what you need, and you can shift from fear to love. And we guarantee when you do that, you will always leave feeling better than when you came in. And the third, so there's 3 elements that are key. I said there were practice, intervention, and the third one is support. We have this huge community that will support you. We all have our own community. We all have our own Facebook groups and friends and families. But this is one that will always hold you to the truth, always bring you back, will never join you in your littleness. They'll always remind you of who you really are and who your loved ones really are. And they're going to expect you to do the same for them. So it's just really taken on a life, and it's just like a powerhouse that we didn't even expect. It's only a monthly membership. We've made it really affordable and easy to use for anybody. You can come whenever you like. You can leave whenever you like. There's no commitments. There's no added fees. So I encourage everyone to check it out because it's really great. And we're so excited that the cart's going to open for 4 days.
That's really amazing. Thank you. So now what I'd like to do is I would like to invite a newcomer to our group, and I'm so excited. This is Kelly, and on Facebook, her name is Kelly Loves You. And Kelly is originally from this area, and she moved away to Arizona, then she moved to Mexico. Well, she's just moved back to the area for good. So we'd like to welcome you back here. And I'm not sure if she's found a place I know you found a temporary place. I don't know if that's permanent, but I might be looking for a place to live. So if anybody knows of anything, just keep that open. And welcome. She's going to do our weekly reading.
Wow. Thank you very much, Lisa. And I'm shocked to be up here in front of a camera. I thought I was going to be late today. I thought the meeting started at 10, and instead I was on time because the meeting started at 10:30. So what am I doing? I don't know what this is called, but I'm going to read this. And it says, where there is much light, the shadow is deep. I just, there's no coincidence. I was talking to my mighty companions on the way here in the car about this exact topic. So the question is, where are you being inflexible? So I've been dealing with a lot of fear, if you all might know. I just, dropped everything and moved all my stuff back east. My car arrived yesterday. I have no job. And I'm sleeping on a daybed in a friend's house right now. I am moving to a bigger house tomorrow morning. And I even have a garage to put my car in. How about that? Spirit is being really nice. I'm not sure how long that will last. The house is on the market. But anyway, Spirit is taking care of me. So where are you being inflexible? Well, I wanted my job yesterday. That's where I'm being inflexible. Spirit has been so gracious, sending me recruiters. My resume is all over the area. And I'm getting a lot of attention. But the fear is I'm not getting any offers. But why would Spirit take me this far and not find me a job? I mean, Spirit has been taking care of me my whole life. So I know my next employer is out there. So where I am being inflexible is I want it done yesterday. So I'm going to stay in love today. That's why I drove 45 minutes to come here to be with all my lovely, mighty companions. And thank you for this opportunity.
That's awesome. Thank you, Kelly. And to me, this work really is just about showing up. Like Kelly sent me a private Facebook message a few days ago to tell me she's back. I said, well, come. And that's really what we always wanted this group to be, as a community for people. And we actually all do already have a job as the light of the world. And we do have an employer, and that's love itself. Like, we're all employed, full-time employees of love itself. And so thank you for saying that I'm just going to stay in love today. And then from that place, when we're recognizing who we really are, the money will flow. If you want a job, and that's truly what's needed, then that flows also. So thank you. So now is a time when we meet each other in love with a hug or a namaste or just an extension of that love that you are. So if you want to rise.
I was just like, I'm just going to blow them up. That's all. You can't hard it. I knew you were going to watch my picture though.
Namaste. You might have to say to my prayer partner. Good morning. Namaste. We can stay together. Welcome home. It's Jen.
Okay, good morning, everybody. If we can just take our seats. I know. Ha! Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome, live streamers. So before I introduce Kelly Russell and bring her up, I have been asked to just give a little introduction about what is A Course in Miracles for any newcomers. So I'm just going to do that briefly before we begin. So A Course in Miracles, it's a way to train your mind to notice where you are, and it will remind you of what you are, which is pure light. And so I'm just going to ask you a question, and I know most of you probably did it the correct way, but I want you to think about how you woke up this morning and how you got out of bed. And I want you to think about how you got here, like how you came into this room, how you walked through the door. So did you, she's got that, I don't know what, am I supposed to stand there?
Behind it.
Oh, behind it. Okay.
For the light. So if you stand here,
Okay.
You'll have more light on you.
Feel free in the house. So how did you wake up this morning? How did you walk through the door, and how are you being right now? So as human beings, we identify with the body, and we just have a let's wait and see approach. What will happen? And we just kind of walk, and we let the world tell us what's going to happen next. But with A Course in Miracles, you train your mind to identify with the light that you are, with the love that you are. And what A Course in Miracles does is it removes all the blocks to the light. So it's actually not a doing. You're really just beginning to notice all the places where you are in judgment, in attacking yourself or others, where you're in shame or blame or worry or guilt or fear, which obviously isn't love. And it's removing those things so that the light that you are is now in your awareness. So it doesn't bring the light to you. It just removes that which is blocking the light. And that's when you start to have those aha moments and that remembering of what you are as light. So when we go anywhere now, like we're allowing ourselves to connect with that light before we do anything. So when you walk into this room, or when you're just sitting here now, that you are in conscious awareness of this light, and you're allowing it to just flow out from you. You're no longer just walking in and just being sad or depressed. You're really connecting with this self. So Course in Miracles has a workbook and a text with 31 chapters and a manual for teachers, which is all about purpose. And I love it because it really is a practical way to meet you where you think you are. You don't have to do anything. You just say, yes, I would like to know the light that I am. And it takes you step by step, one lesson a day. And you start to have this remembering. Like this morning, I was thinking about, I love Joe Dispenza. And last night I was looking at the Silva mind control method. I don't know if you guys have heard that. It's identical to Joe Dispenza. And basically what both of those are a way to get into a different state of mind. So it talks about delta, theta, beta, and alpha waves. And where we're conscious and the mind is very active, planning, doing, is a very fast moving, chaotic mental mind brain state. And when you bring yourself into stillness, into the present moment, and you just slow yourself down, you let yourself be present, they've already scientifically shown that it changes your brain waves, and that's just mind, and mind affects matter. So when you can bring yourself into that stillness, into that calm, into that joy, and they call that heart coherence in scientific community. And when you're in heart coherence, the picture, the matter begins to change. And what I was thinking about this morning, because I read A Course in Miracles every single morning, there's something about it that brings me into that slower state. And what I was thinking is that is the same meditation practice that Joe Dispenza is talking about, but you can do it with the lesson. I am one self united with my creator, and that changes the brain, the mind, the energy, the vibration, and then I move from that place. And so to me, that's really one definition of A Course in Miracles, but it's the one I like because it has changed my life. I know it's changed a lot of people's lives. So Kelly Russell, I'm going to switch gears here now, and she's our teacher for today. And what I'd like to say about Kelly, and some of you may have heard this story, is I met Kelly several years ago, and Bill and I were in a prayer training to be a Unity prayer chaplains. Oh, turned off. Oh, that's because both of these are on at the same time.
No, she turned it off now.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I'll turn mine on. I'll turn mine on later.
So this was many years ago. This was maybe 6 years ago or more. And it was during a time when I was one of those annoying Course in Miracles teacher that just said everything's an illusion. And I don't do that anymore. And that was back in the day.
It's still doing it.
When I just was like, sickness, it's not real. It's just an illusion. And so Bill and I were training to become Unity prayer chaplains. And we had an all-day Saturday seminar about how to work with people who come to us in grief, which is what being a prayer chaplain is about here at Unity. And in walks, I shouldn't say walk, because Kelly Russell does not walk, she sachets. And she rocks her joy. This woman walks in, right? And she's just like high heel boots and probably mini skirt. And I fell in love with her. The second I saw, it's like my head turned to the door, and I knew a psychotherapist was coming to train us about how to talk with people who are in grief that come and ask for prayer. And we were told it was a grief counselor. So I knew it was coming. So I had a preconceived idea of what this was going to be. Well, in sachets Kelly, and I was instantly fell in love with you, Kelly. And she sits right next to me. I felt so excited that you sat next to me, because it's like, you when you get to a certain point, you don't have to be near the person, but she brought so much love and joy into the room. It was just like the light has come, and she sat down next to me, and I was so fully present for whatever you were going to say. And she began to speak about her clients and her work of dealing and working with people who are in grief and have anxiety. And on that day, my mind completely changed. I never since that day tell someone it's just an illusion, it's not real. But Kelly, you gave me such a gift, because it's about being present with someone and allowing there to be a joining with you and another where you're listening. You're really listening to what someone is sharing, and you're joining in that space. And that's how you heal grief. You don't just come in and say it's not real. And so it's just a tremendous joy for me to know you and to have had that shift in my mind. It really brought me back into a much more present, grounded state where I could really just be present for everything now without pushing anyone away. So it is with great honor and privilege that we introduce the presence and power and light of God itself, Kelly Russell.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh my God. Thank you. Wow. I'm like verklempt after that introduction. Thank you so much. I'm gonna add to that story in a second, but I just want to say I stand in the presence. Namaste. And before I say anything, I want to just say the prayer from A Course in Miracles from the Blue Book, page 28. I'm here only to be truly helpful, so if you know the prayer, please join me. I'm here only to be truly helpful. I'm here to represent Him who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do, because He who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever He wishes, knowing He goes there with me, and I will be healed as I let Him teach me to heal. Thank you for joining with me in that. So I just want to give the next part of that story from my perspective, and that was such a beautiful introduction. Thank you so much. And I think that was in like 2010, was it? Or maybe 2011, maybe 2012. That it was the last time that I did it. I know that. And then fast forward a couple of years, I didn't really know you guys then. And then in 2014, I got an email from Bill Free, and it said, my wife Lisa Natoli and I are starting this foundation, or have started this foundation that's raising consciousness through the teaching of A Course in Miracles. We understand you have a course group. Are you interested in being part of this? And of course I said yes. And then I hadn't been going to Unity on the River anymore for a variety of reasons. I was spending every weekend in New Hampshire, and it just wasn't feasible for me to do that. So I hadn't been going to Unity, and something said, go to Unity this weekend, go to Unity on Sunday. And so I did, and I probably hadn't been to Unity in like a year. And I was sitting there, and they introduced this woman, Lisa Natoli, to get up and receive, I think it was like a stone, like a rock or something. And I'm not great with names, so I didn't remember the name that I had gotten from Bill. I just knew I'd gotten this email. So I'm just kind of sitting there, and you started speaking. And I loved everything that you said, and you talked about the different things that you were doing in the world. And one of the things that you talked about was being a teacher of A Course in Miracles. And I've been a student for a long time, so I perked right up. And then you talked about having this foundation and the Teacher of God Foundation, and then I made the connection. And so then after the group, I came out and met you. And so it was just this beautiful circle you talked about meeting me. And then I just have such a memory of meeting Bill, and then meeting you, and then my life just changed immensely after that. So obviously that was meant to happen. So I'm here to talk today about our power of choice with regard to seeing things from a state of attack or a state of peace. And what's made me think about it this particular week is this has been election week. And so all leading up to election week has been all of these ads. And I don't even have cable, so I don't even have ads on my TV at home, but I go to my boyfriend's house a lot and he has cable, and so we'll be watching something and it's just ad after ad after ad. And one of the things that I found super annoying, I always find it super annoying, so I don't know why I thought it was going to be any different this year, is when the candidates trash each other in the ads. And this one did this, and this was the voting record, and this is all the bad things that they stand for, and if you vote for them, this is how your life's going to be terrible, and all that. And then their opponent comes on and says the exact same thing about them. So we don't really learn anything from those either. And I'm sitting there and just being all in judgment about it. You know, here I am, a Course in Miracles student, Course in Miracles teacher, and I purport to, you know, give up judgment every single morning. I give up judgment, and then I'm there judging them. You know, judging people for judging people is still judging people. FYI. So I've just been kind of annoyed about the whole thing. And then I've just been thinking a lot about the idea of the election and about not only politicians attacking each other, but us and our attack thoughts, me sitting there with my attack thoughts about how they're attacking each other, and how it's our first, it's kind of our go-to. Attack thoughts are just our go-to. And why do we do that? And the reason why we do that is because we feel like we deserve to be attacked. We feel like we're afraid, actually, that God is attacking us, that God is going to attack us, that he's angry with us. And I talked about this a little bit last week when we were talking about anxiety, because that is the root of all anxiety as well. And so I started thinking about how can we think differently about how can we think differently about elections? How can we think differently about the candidates? And why do we attack in the first place? So we attack out of fear. So even our attack thoughts about candidates, what if this person gets into office? What if that party becomes the ruling party of the Senate and the House of Representatives? What if this person gets elected to be the governor? What if that person gets elected to be mayor? What if this bill passes? What if that bill doesn't pass? It's all about fear. It's all about our fear of the future and what we're afraid is going to happen. And so that means that we're believing in the world. We're believing in the world, the body, and the world of the ego. And the world of the ego is set up so that things won't go well, ever. Okay, can we just get that? Can we just know that? Because we're just on that hamster wheel every day. I don't know about you, but like every day, it's like, if I just do this, then things will work out and I'll be happy. If that happens, then things will work out and I'll be happy. Or if I get this job, or if I have that relationship, or I can get this person to do what I want them to do, or I can elect that candidate and then they make that decision and then that bill passes, or it's not going to happen. In the ego world, it's not going to happen. If we're putting our faith, if we're choosing with our ego minds, and we're putting our faith in anything in the external world, it's not going to happen. And so choosing with peace instead. So choosing, what does that look like? You know, choosing with peace. So I could see peace instead of this, is what the Course in Miracles says. It's one of my favorite lines in the Course. And so what would that look like? So, because I don't do a whole lot of investigating about the politicians. I do vote, and I did vote, and I'm glad that I did and used my voice, but I don't do a whole lot of looking into the politicians and what they stand for and all of that. I just kind of am intuitive about it. I do ask every morning guide my thoughts, guide my perceptions, help me see with your vision, help me hear with your understanding, speak your words through me, correct me. And so I hope that how I voted was how Spirit would have me vote. And I guess that's how I look at it, is that Spirit would not have me attacking my brother. And, you know, people can run for office, and how do I know who the right person is to get into office? How do I know who the right person is for the Senate or the House or to be our governor? Or, yeah, I don't know. Of myself, I can do nothing. I don't know anything. I think the Course in Miracles basically tells us that we're better off if we just admit that we don't know anything. And that's really hard to do. And we get all wound up about the stuff in the world, and we get all wound up about the decisions and getting into like discussions with somebody even about politics. I mean, it can really get really ugly. And so being able to just come back to a place of, I can see peace instead of this, and that how my experience is going to go in the world and how your experience is going to go in the world has nothing to do with who we're electing. It has nothing to do with anything that is happening in the world. Like, who's going to get elected is who's going to get elected. But it doesn't mean that who we elect or who we make a choice about or what that outcome is going to really affect our lives in any way. Because what is going to affect our lives is our thoughts, right? And then our thoughts play out into the world. So we're creating our reality by the meaning that we attach to everything. Right? Like, I've given everything all the meaning that it has for me, is another Course in Miracles lesson. And so whatever we think is going to happen as a result of our election or as a result of somebody, getting into office or passing a bill or being behind something, our experience is going to follow that. So if we're afraid, and that's what's behind all attack thoughts, is our fear. And it's really not just even the fear of what's gonna happen, it's our fear about who we are. You know, if we knew beyond a shadow of a doubt who we were, who we are, and we trusted in that, we trusted that we are nothing but love, and that we are invulnerable, right? Because that's the truth of us. We are made of God's love. So we are we're invulnerable. The only thing that is vulnerable is the body and the world, because it's temporary. And the more that you know who you are, the more that you really, I love what Lisa was saying about being the light. Like, that's who we are. We're just the light. And the light can't be destroyed. It can't, nothing bad can happen to the light. And darkness can't abolish the light. The only thing that darkness can do with the light is obscure it if we allow that to happen. But that's our choice. And so our power of choice isn't what is going to happen in the world of form. Whatever's going to happen in the world of form is going to happen in the world of form. Our power of choice lies in how we're going to see it and the meaning that we're going to make of it. So, we make judgments all the time about, everything. We make judgments all the time about something is good or something is bad, or something's going to be terrible, or something's going to be awful, or something's going to be horrendous, or something's going to be ruined, or something's going to be a total shit show, or something's going to, that's all our own doing. That is us setting ourselves up to have a terrible experience just because of the way that we're looking at something. And so really to be able to use our power of choice when we're looking at, and I know that the election's already over, but we are right now, I mean, we're still in the week of it. And I think it's really interesting, and I'm going to talk about this also in a moment, that we're in the middle of the week, that where we're in the same week, we're having the election and we're having Veterans Day, which I think that that's a really interesting thing that I want to talk about, kind of the similarities and the juxtaposition of that. But it just calls to mind us being able to either put our faith in the outside world and what is happening and other people, and then really putting our faith in the ego world. And that causes us to attack because it makes us afraid. It makes us feel like we're at the mercy of what happens in the world. And we can either do that, or we can withdraw our power from that and say, the election is going to happen however it happens. You know, a few years ago when we had the presidential election, it was the same thing. There was a lot of fear around that, and a lot of what's going to happen, and it's going to be terrible and all of that. And again, our perception of whether it's terrible or not depends on whether we're looking outside in this world. This world is, it is where we keep waking up every day and thinking that we are, but it's a dream. And so the more that we keep thinking that we can affect the dream by anything outside of ourselves, the more we're just going to hold ourselves in a place of suffering. And so being able to bless the politicians, being able to bless whoever got into office, be able to bless whatever the bills were that were passed, to be able to bless the House and bless the Senate and bless the people who won and bless the people who lost, because I'm not sure whether it's true that they really won or lost just because they either got in or out of office. You know, and a few years down the road, or maybe a few months down the road, they may be thinking the same thing. So just blessing all of them and sending our light with them, and knowing that really the only governing body for us is the Holy Spirit. The only governing body for us, the only, I don't want to say person because Holy Spirit's not a person, but the only being that we answer to, our laws are the laws of Spirit. Our laws are those laws that say that we are love, that our brother is love, that we don't make our brother wrong, even if our brother is acting insanely, which they might be. And again, that's not really up to us to determine whether our brother is acting insanely. So it's always about checking in with Spirit, about what would you have me think about this situation? Where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say, and to whom? What miracles would you have me perform today? How would you have me see this? Please help me see this differently. And that's one of the most powerful statements we can make every day is, how would you have me see this? Because, you know, Spirit's not invested in this world. Spirit knows that this world is an illusion. It's a dream. It's fake. It's like the Truman Show. And so for us to, but Spirit also knows that we're here to transform our belief of who we are back to the truth. And so in that, we're going to be guided every moment. And if it's, you know, if it's helpful for a certain person to be into office, then that's what's going to happen. And that's how we're going to be guided. And that's what the outcome's going to be. So if we can just trust that everything is guided by Spirit, and that as long as we connect ourselves with our guidance every day, and as many moments in the day as we can, and as long as we keep asking, and as long as we keep surrendering and turning over our will to Spirit's, and as long as we can be aligned with whatever's going on right now is whatever is supposed to be going on right now. Like, our suffering happens when we choose to think differently, because that's a choice. You know, what we have is our power of choice. So we can choose to think that what's going on right now is terrible and it shouldn't be happening. And I need to do something different. And I need to make it happen differently. And I need to rearrange the furniture on the Titanic. You know, instead of saying whatever's going on right now, even if it feels like it's wrong, even if it feels like it shouldn't be happening, not to judge it and just say, I'm going to use my power of choice to say whatever's happening right now is for the highest good of all concerned. And I'm just going to trust that that is the case. And if I'm supposed to do something about it, if I have a role here, if I need to take some kind of action, including voting, turning your voting over to Spirit, asking, who would you have me check the little box for? Because that person's going to be guided by Spirit too. And it's not up to us to determine whether or not somebody is listening to their own guidance of Spirit or not. That's the arrogance of the ego, for us to be determining what somebody else should or should not be doing, even in our politics. So it's using, and when we are in that place of peace, when we are in that place of, okay, Spirit, I don't really know what's supposed to happen here, so I'm turning this over to you, and I am just trusting that you got this, that you're the one counting the ballots, that you're the one putting people into certain positions, and that you are going to guide both them and me, because we're all one collective mind. So you are guiding all of us at the same time toward where you would have us go. And just trusting that. You know, whenever, just in my own life, just in the stupid minutia that happens every day in my own life, when I do that, my life goes really smoothly. And things just, doors open and things just seem to dovetail with each other and things align and life is easy. And when I think that I have to make stuff happen and I start worrying about stuff and I start freaking out and I get in fear and I go, what about this and what if that? And oh, I got to do this and what if that happens? And then things start really, the wheels start coming off the bus and I start having a terrible experience and things don't work out and obstacles do get in the way. And you know, I'm just like, what is going on here? And then it's like, that's because I became misaligned. I forgot what I was supposed to be doing, which is just turning everything over to Spirit and not thinking that I know how anything is supposed to go and supposed to work out. And it's so opposite from how we think we're supposed to be in this world. You know, we think we are supposed to make it happen. We are in America, we are certainly a nation of, you know, go-getters and pull yourself up out of your bootstraps and you can, you know, have the life you want. And I'm not saying you can't have the life you want. I think you can have the life you want, but I think you're far more likely to have the life you want if you turn it over to Spirit and say, I don't know how to do it, but Spirit has our best interest at heart always, and the best interest of all else concerned. And Spirit is looking back from the end of time, so guiding us from how everything is supposed to work so that it's the best for everyone, instead of just us and our small local selves. And so the more that we can tune into that, and the more that we can, and even if it's like, really, this is really how it's supposed to go? Because it seems really fucked up. Like, it doesn't seem like it's supposed to go like that. It's like, you know what? Just stay in trust. Just stay in trust. He's like, I got this. I got a plan. Like, you can't see it because we're looking like this. We're looking like we have blinders, so we can't see it. He's looking back from the end of time, so it all ended already. And it had a happy ending, spoiler alert, so good. And so we're just kind of watching the movie, but we're watching the movie not knowing how the movie is supposed to go. And we're watching the movie not knowing what the ending is. I mean, the only thing we can know about the ending is, as it says in A Course in Miracles, is that it all ended great. And all the children of God came back home and we're all back there together, and all this never happened, and it just faded away into the nothingness from which it came, because it was all an illusion anyway. And that is the truth. But in the dream, while we still appear to be in it, the best thing we can do is give our power of choice to Spirit for every single decision in the election, in thinking about who got elected, in thinking about what decisions they're going to make, in thinking about how life is going to go, and all of that, and allow ourselves to be in a place of love, in a place of blessing, in a place of sending light. Because the more that we do that, the more that you send light, like we're the bearers of the light. Lisa said a few weeks ago, I loved what you said about just holding the light, just carrying the light, and just letting the light go before you. I love that. I love that visual, and I love that metaphor, that if we're just doing that, that's all we really have to do. And if we're supposed to say something, Spirit will speak it through us. And how do we know that it's Spirit speaking through us and not ego? Because it is that still small voice, because it is loving, because it is kind, because it is not attacking. And when we see something that we are judging, that we think shouldn't be the case, like whatever in our own lives, or somebody that gets elected, or some bill that passes, or something that happens in the political world, for us to be able to practice what the Course tells us to do when anything disturbs our peace, which is forgiveness. And it's forgiveness of whatever seems to be happening, because it's not real. I'm just dreaming it. So I'm just forgiving myself for dreaming whatever this is, asking to see it differently, releasing it to Spirit, and then having a better experience. Because either my projection in the world is going to change and things are actually going to appear to be different, which happens to me all the time. So I know the Course in Miracles calls it not believing in magic. It's not magic. It's actually reality. But it feels like magic sometimes when something that I feel so crappy about changes. After I practice forgiveness, I'm like, it seems like magic. It's not. I know it isn't, but it kind of seems like it, because it's so like, how does that even happen? But it happens because I'm changing my projection, right? Projection makes perception. So I'm changing my projection in the world with forgiveness, and then my perception of whatever the world is showing me changes. And so that's what I'm encouraging us all to do with regard to whatever the outcomes have been of the election, is using our power of choice, which is the power that we have to choose with Spirit or choose with ego, to choose forgiveness of anything that we don't agree with or anything that we're in fear about, and allow ourselves to watch our projections change and then see what our perception shows us. So I want to move past that now to the subject of Veterans Day. So Veterans Day is Sunday, but it's being observed on Monday. And I just think, I thought it was so interesting that it was happening the week of the election. And I was thinking about Veterans Day and like, what does it really mean? I know that we honor our war veterans. Both my parents are World War II veterans, actually. My mom was a Navy nurse and my dad was in the Coast Guard. And veterans, so I wanted to try to look at that from kind of a metaphysical perspective. And so I looked up what the history of Veterans Day is. And Veterans Day came into being and was first celebrating the end of World War I, which was originally known before World War II as the war to end all wars. And that's how it was thought of, is that there would, in our I think our wishing and our naivete, that there would never be another war on that scale ever again. And of course, not all that many years later there was, but at the end of that war, and interestingly, that war, World War I, ended, so it's November 11th, and that war ended on the 11th day of the 11th month at the 11th hour. So I looked up in numerology, and the number 11 is a master number, and it represents inspiration, illumination, and spiritual enlightenment. And so I thought that was really cool. It was called Armistice Day. And an armistice is a temporary suspension of hostilities for warring parties for the possible purpose of establishing peace. It's a truce. So I was thinking about that with regard to this week and this week of elections. And then I was thinking about the, all that the external world shows us in terms of attacking and warring, people battling, us being in attack with our brothers, in our personal relationships, all that the world is showing us when that happens, that's just an outpicturing of our own inward condition, like our inner battle that is taking place in our own mind. And it's back and forth between choosing with the spirit, choosing with the ego, and choosing with the spirit, choosing with the ego, and that we're battling ourselves. We're battling our own knowledge of who we really are as love and light in the world with this capricious, hungry, never-ending, constantly popping up everywhere and coming in different places and fucking up our lives, voice of the ego, right? And that really becomes the battle within us. And that's really where the decision maker is us choosing between the spirit and the ego. And it feels like a constant battle sometimes. I wake up in the morning and every single day I do my prayer and meditation, and I have this whole ritual that I do and this whole process that I do, and I turn my life over to spirit, and I ask for guidance and read the Course in Miracles and do my journal. I get all into this like great little sparkly pink shimmery space, and I'm all good, and then I go out into the world, and it's like, the world like bitch slaps me, and I'm just like, oh my God, like, okay, so I want to kind of go back into my place and be peaceful again and practice forgiveness, and that's an illusion, and I'm carrying the light, and then I have something else happen, or I might have an interaction with somebody, or something happens in traffic, or I have something that happens that disturbs my peace, and I'm right back there again. And we all have our themes. We have our themes, and sometimes our themes are relationships, and sometimes our themes are financial. That's one of my themes. Some of relationships can be one of my themes too. And sometimes the theme is the body or physical issues that happen with it. Sometimes it seems like you don't really have a theme, and it's just everything is happening in all the areas of your life, and things seem to be going wrong in all of that in all the different areas. But being able to look at when that happens in the moment, forgiveness is going to change this for me. Forgiveness is going to bring me back to a place of peace. So choosing the light instead of the darkness, choosing forgiveness, choosing to release it as the illusion that it is, asking to help me see this differently is the thing that changes the experience. It's the only thing that changes experience. The world is going to show you what is going on in your own mind, which is why we can have this collective experience of there's war going on here, and this person is the president, and we have things like Brexit happening in Europe, and different things that we all sort of have as part of our collective experience. But then each of us also seem to have a different experience of our experience. Some people are very much in fear. Some people are having an awful experience. Some people are having like a really good experience. And it's not because we're not all living in the same world or appear to be living in the same world. We all are appearing to be living in the same world, but our experience is governed by how we're thinking about all of it. So that's our power of choice, is how I'm going to think about whatever is going on in my life, how I'm going to look at it. I can look at it with spirit and see the light of it and see the gift in it. You know, one of my friends used to tell me, and this is way before A Course in Miracles, it was way before I was a therapist, so it was way before I ever learned anything about reframing, which is taking a negative experience, the way that you're perceiving it, and looking at it from a positive perspective, literally turning a negative into a positive. And it's a tool that we use in psychotherapy that we teach people to do. But way before I learned any of that, one of my friends used to tell me that I could rationalize anything. She would quiz me and be like, well, how are you going to spin this? What are you going to say about that? And I would just find a way to say it that it was the silver lining in that, you know? And people can call that like a Pollyanna approach, you know? But like Pollyanna rocked. Pollyanna was like the most positive person that ever lived in the whole universe. Like, we would all do really well to follow her, right? She was just like glad about everything. She was happy about everything. And people think sometimes people think that's being naive, that is putting your head in the sand, that's not being realistic, that it's not dealing with reality. Well, dealing with reality, realistic is the same thing. But it's actually the opposite. When we are looking at everything through the eyes of fear, and we're seeing the negative in everything, we're seeing what could happen that's frightening in everything, and seeing everything as terrible and bad, and it shouldn't happen like that, and oh my God, and what's going to happen then, and then this is going to happen, and then that's going to happen. That's really putting our head in the sand. It's putting our head in the sand of quicksand. Who just said that? Quicksand. The quicksand of the ego. You didn't say it? Who said that? Nice, Nancy. It's the quicksand of the ego, right? Because what does quicksand do? It sucks you right down. And then whatever happens down there, I don't know. But it's bad. It's bad. And so that's what happens when we get into fear and we allow ourselves to be in that place of attack and that place of judgment and that place of fear. We're getting sucked into the quicksand of the ego, as opposed to being able to stay up where the light is, right? And stay in that place of trust, that place of love, that place of being aligned with spirit, being open to what spirit is telling us to do, knowing that we don't know, because of ourselves we can do nothing. And when we're thinking with ourselves, we're going to be making the wrong choices. We're going to be choosing with the ego instead of the spirit. So in the spirit of this being election week, I went back to the Constitution. I decided not to memorize it, but I did want to look at the opening paragraph to it and then the closing sentence to it, because I said I thought that kind of says it all. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men, meaning people, are created equal, that they're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that if we look at that from the standpoint of A Course in Miracles, it doesn't matter who gets elected in what office. If we are living by this Constitution, whether you're American or not, this is true, that we are endowed by our Creator with these rights. And our Creator is the one that is guiding us. And our Creator is the one that is governing us. And as long as we remember that and we stay aligned with that, then we will be just fine. And the last line of the Constitution is, and for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. And that just to me says it all. It's that we are brothers and we are all one, and that we are reliant on one another under our Creator to come together in our minds to bring ourselves back home, to the home that we never left, to stay in the light, and to choose, to use our power of choice, to choose love over fear. And when we do that, then the world does and will reflect to us a beautiful, happy life. So that's all I got to say about that. Thank you. Thank you. And so, can we pray? Are we?
No, we still have a little bit of time.
Okay.
There was a question.
Do we have any questions?
Yeah,
Well, we have hands up here, and
there's a question on the board that I would like to, and I want to say thank you. That was a beautiful presentation. Oh my God.
Thank you.
Wow.
Came through me, not from me. Just
Yeah,
want to
thank
say,
you.
thanks, Spirit.
There was a question early on from Lynn, and she said it would have to be your hobby, the politics. It would have to be your hobby. My husband is a political junkie. It's constant reading and engagement.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And not knocking your husband, Lynn, because if you're interested and it's your hobby and that's what you want to do, and it brings you light and it uplifts you and it makes you feel good to be on top of it all, rock on. Absolutely. For me, it doesn't do any of that. So I really just try to kind of go within and say, kind of like, how would you have me vote here? I mean, I did sort of turn that over before I went into my cute little voting poll in Newburyport, which is in a church, that's kind of awesome. And there's always just these two cute little ladies that are there. And I've never ever stood in like even a line of like one person. Like you just like go in, you give them your address, they give you a little paper ballot, you like fill in the little things, and it's all very, Mayberry-ish. And so I just asked, guide me in how you would have me vote here. But yeah, it would kind of have to be your hobby. You'd have to have the desire to put time into it. And if you're doing so, and do it with love. If you're doing it out of fear, because you're afraid of what's going to happen if everyone doesn't vote the same way that you think they should, and how everything's going to then fall apart, then you're going to have a difficult experience, and your projections are going to show you a fearful world. Dave, do we have a microphone? Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
I think it was beautiful. I love to hearing you describing your own experience, number one, about all your practices, and yet you get up and face the world every day. That's the human experience.
Yeah.
But we have this capacity to always seek for the higher inspiration. I'm a student of history. I've read a lot of the early founding fathers and books and so forth. And what you read from the Constitution came from that higher inspiration.
Yeah.
of minds coming together.
Yeah.
However, you know what I'm going to say? Yeah. They had overlooked a lot of the things that were obstacles to these higher inspired words, because they also were engaging in allowing slavery to go on at the very time, and even having slaves. And one of the ways of rationalizing that in some of the minds of people were these were subhumans. These were not full, when they were saying we the people.
Created equal, but
you know,
not everybody.
And I'm not saying that to detract from the beauty of the inspiration, but it again points to we have this capacity to be in touch with the light and point to the light, even coming from a very imperfect grounding in our own human being. And I don't mean this as a disclaimer, but it's an interesting phenomenon that there is no other constitution of any nation that's like ours. It is the most enlightening, I think, of all that there is. And yet it contains within it this block. Maybe we can never reach the total perfection of God, but that's what our striving is, right? That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Well, I love what you said, and what actually, to just sort of to go further with it, in this world, I think it is very difficult for us to do anything sort of like that, like writing the Constitution, whatever, completely with spirit, because remembering too that just like reading along with the Course in Miracles, you've got your ego mind reading right along with it and then interpreting it for you and telling you how you should think about it, and or maybe just throw it in the trash or whatever. And that the writing of the Constitution, I think, was partly being written by the ego mind as well. I think that's hard to get away from that.
I want to add one thing too. This is kind of interesting to me. Some of our founding fathers, and like I said, I've done a lot of research into this, they knew this was not right. In their heart of hearts, they knew it. But there was an economic system that had the possibility, unlike anything they'd ever seen, that had some equanimity in it, unlike Europe and Britain and some of the places where it was always the rich getting richer. Now, we're kind of seeing, well, never mind. But,
well, the ego mind has kind of gotten a hold of that Constitution in that last couple hundred years, too.
But I found it interesting. Some of these people, even Jefferson, had made statements of not liking the institution of slavery, but they felt disempowered to change what seemed to be working for the majority of the people.
Right. That was going to be later. Did I see another hand up?
Yeah, and I think Linda does too. I think that proves your point, what he said, because I use a different word for spirit. You know, for me, it's easier. For me, that visual becomes some man outside. That's just what it does for me.
Yep.
So I see like the life force, the creative force, that energy that's always moving towards the light. You know, like the daisy out of the asphalt.
Yep.
Life just is always moving towards healing. I mean, that's just scientific. It's always moving towards healing and wellness.
Yeah.
And that's what this energy is for me. There were those who were creating the Constitution who went against the light inside of them. They didn't listen to their intuition. They didn't listen to the spirit that was going through them. They sold out. So your point is we need to not sell out, which is very, very difficult because we're constantly compromising here. We're constantly saying, well, I'll never get it all, so I'll take this much and I'll just close my eyes to this. Jesus didn't do that.
Right.
Jesus took it all on. He went 100%. He was, for me, he was the example of what's possible.
Yes.
He wasn't the only one who could do that. He was the example of what we all can do. And obviously there were other avatars who did the same thing. But what we can see is when we sell out, and it's hard. It's flipping hard, right?
Yeah.
You're in divorce court. You know, you want to play so you win what you think you're supposed to win.
Yep.
in 1,000 different ways for that, right?
Yeah.
But whenever I watch myself sell out, it's always short money.
Yeah.
I mean, it's short for the moment.
It is.
It's short success because later it sucks.
Yes.
And there is a bigger plan. There is a bigger plan. So I appreciate what you had to say. Thanks.
Thanks, Irene.
We're on time, right?
Got a couple more minutes.
You just pretty much said a lot what I was going to say. I just
All minds are joined.
want to, yeah. Wow. But to me, again, like you said, there's always a bigger picture, and I just have to be careful. It's easy to judge. It's easy to say what someone should have done or sold out or whatever we're saying. But, just like with us here on this journey, when we asked for the blocks to the love that we are removed, crap rises up to the surface to be seen and to be loved. And when crap rises up to the surface globally, and we all have a different idea of what that crap is. What you might think is crap, someone else thinks is the greatest thing that ever happened. Just really goes to show the power of our perception. One particular candidate brings someone so much joy and safety, and brings somebody else so much fear. Yeah. So our power of decision is huge, and it's our biggest responsibility. But just like with us, the crap has to rise up to the surface. And I loved when Kimberly Cartwright said at the last election that she had a friend who called her in the morning after Trump was elected and said, she said, had Hillary been elected, and I'm not, I would have gotten up and gone to have my hair done. But when I got up and found out that Donald Trump was elected, I need to do something today to bring more love to this world. So that was one person's perception, but I just think that there's just always remember to judge anything, because there's a bigger picture and a bigger purpose, even if it's not going the way you think it should go.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Linda. We're good? We're done? Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. Thanks for your comments and your awesome wisdom. You want to come up and pray? Did I turn this off? Is that okay. I can do it. Tithes and offerings? I'm happy to do that. Oh, you want to do that part? Sorry. Yes, and then I'll pray. Yes. Can we join hands?
You guys want to join?
Circle. Close the circle. Yay.
Okay.
It's Friday morning and none of us have jobs.
Oh, yeah. Lisa said remind everyone that it's Friday morning and none of us have jobs.
We're all here. We're doing our job.
But I also want to remind everybody, for the live streamers, you have a donate button. Everybody here, we do have a love box. We are the Teachers of God Foundation here. We are a nonprofit organization. We are a really small team trying to bring big love to this world in any way that we can. And we really rely on donations. We do have some online programs, but we're doing everything we can to bring this message everywhere we can in the world. There are some weeks when we're not sure about payroll, and there's what every penny that we receive is used to bring this message everywhere we're called to do that. So we really appreciate your donations and your love. So with that being said, we bless our tithes and our offerings. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive.
Just ask everyone to take a deep centering breath. And I'm going to pray the prayer that I pray every day for all of us. So, Holy Spirit, we surrender this day to you. We ask you to guide all of our decisions and choices, our thoughts, actions, perceptions, and intentions. We ask that you speak your words through us to help us hear with your understanding and see with your vision as you correct ours. As we step back and let you lead the way, we ask that you help us to be in a consciousness of complete non-judgment and total trust in you. of all-encompassing love, of abundance, prosperity, of generosity and gratitude, of acceptance and grace. We ask your help in practicing forgiveness wherever and whenever it is called for in any situation. Thank you for making all of our relationships holy and for helping us to recognize the holiness in every encounter and see the face of Christ in every brother. And so it is. Amen.
Rock your
Thank you.
Pollyanna.
I'm so happy. Thank you. I love you.